Okay, so on Monday, we will be having our 9 weeks test. 100 points. It'll be multiple choice, A, B, C, or D on the little Scantron sheet. So one of the things I'll be talking about as I go through this is just different ways that will question you using an A, B, C, or D test. I think for this first set, when you're going over integers, we just ask you, would it be a positive 5 or a negative 5? And you choose it. If you lose money, it's negative. If it's a fee, it's negative. Okay, everybody good on that one? Okie dokie. On the next one, we're talking which one's located closest. Now, we'll give you a hint there. That word closest may not mean exactly on it. And I noticed that already on the little test that it is the closest, and it's really the only answer that's the closest, but this one, negative 1/4, closest is B. And since it's negative, you definitely shouldn't choose C. Okay, going on. The next one, there's only one answer. I realize they said all comparisons, but if there's only one, there's only one. Absolute value, those little lines, mean change it to a positive. So, 23 is equal to 23. Yes.
How many questions are on
The test has 25 questions, and they're all A, B, C, or D. Yes, good question. And, the main reason we do that is we try to do it in just one day. It's just a lot of trouble if we have to pass it back out and all that good stuff. And it's Monday. I know it seems like tomorrow, but we couldn't do it with the amount of time. So, okay, number 6. I am assuming you know the 4 and negative 4, but just be real careful. Check your work. Did you put 1/2 between 0 and 1? And did you put negative 1.5 between negative 1 and negative 2? Be very careful with those.
Did we have to, write all the numbers on the number line?
You don't have to. I just filled mine in so y'all could see it. Y'all could see it. And I think on the test what they did is we have 2 or 3 and we say which one is, did we mark it correctly with the right spots. It's, that one's pretty easy. Okay, least to greatest. Now, you know the number lines on the wall behind me. Least to greatest. Least being over there, greatest going that way. So, if you need it. Now, I did highlight these 2 words because I'm scared that on the test it could be greatest to least. So just be very careful to watch the wording on the actual test. Everybody get on that one? Okay. We got, let's see, completing expressions with our inequality signs, greater than, less than type stuff. If the absolute value lines are there, that means change it to a positive. So that's a positive 1/2. This is a negative 1/2, which makes positive more than negative. Okay. Going on to this one. Now, I will say a few things about this. You've got to get memorized on this that you go across the X before you ever go up and down. So, when you have negative 2 and 3, that point, negative 2 stands for X. It's always X and then Y. So, negative 2 and 3, negative 2 and 8, finding the distance between them 2 different ways. You could count chunks, as I call it. Chunks, not each little line, you'll get off track, but chunks. Or do, this is 8, take away 5, and you would, take away 3, and you would get 5. Distance is always positive. Yes?
On the test, are we going to have to, do the graph like this, or we're going to have to label it?
No. You will be, as far as I remember, you'll be just reading one, and it will just say, so how far is this distance? Yes.
So, to get the distance, you have to, subtract, the y?
It matters which way it's laid out. So, like, this one is at, let's see, 8 and 3, and so that's the difference you're trying to figure out. Like, how far is it from a 3 to an 8? Okay. my thing is this, and I wish you'd all kind of look real quick. It does matter where it's at, and this is actually the next thing I was going to say. Such as, if, hint, hint, I change this. Let's say I put a dot right here and a dot over here. Now you're comparing what, though?
4 and 3.
The 4 and the 3, the negative 3. You're not comparing, like you're comparing the x. So to find the distance, look up here and say, okay, from here to here is 3 spots, and from here to here is 4 spots. So it's a total of 7 spots by looking at it. Basically this one's at negative 3. So from 0 to negative 3 is 3. And then from 0 to 4 is 4, and then add them together. So it matters where it is. Like this one, you kind of look here. This one, you would look here. It just kind of matters where they're at. Their differences. Does that make sense at all? Kind of, no. Because, okay, let me ask you this. Do you get how this point is labeled this, right? Okay. And the ones that it has the same is the x, so you look at the y's, the 3 and the 8. Okay, if I were to give you the points of this, let's say this one is C and that one's D. C, and I know I'm totally making this up, but it would be negative 3 and negative 3. And this one would be 4 and negative 3. So now which ones are you comparing?
3, 4.
Are you comparing the x's or the y's?
X.
X's. So you're always comparing the ones that don't match. Like these two negative 2's match. So you're comparing the 3 and the 8.
Oh, the ones that don't match, you
Basically, but be careful because like this one's not subtraction. This one is from 0 to 3 or negative 3 is 3 spots. And that one, because it's going over an axis line, a y or an x, you got to add it. So, think about it this way. I mean, really, does it look like it would be 1 spot? Just by looking at that? We know it's not 1 spot. So, if you subtracted 4 from 3, or 3 minus 4, or whatever, 4 minus 3, you would get 1. But that didn't make any sense. I mean, y'all can look at the picture and tell it's not 1. So, just make sure it kind of makes sense. Okay? And the way to double check it, I'll kind of do it this way, is I call it bounces. Like, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So make sure your bounces make sense with the numbers. It's kind of a double way to check your work. So, yes?
I put mine bottom, right one.
Yes, because
But I
you...
still got 5. Will I get counted off?
Probably not, because we're not going to be grading tomorrow like your points. We're going to be grading probably just, not tomorrow, Monday, just distance. But listen, guys, and I'm going to say it, and I know I'm being recorded, but I'm going to say it anyway. You do not want to walk into a 7th grade classroom and not know how to graph. Listen, that is not good, okay? Think about it this way. Babies always crawl before they stand up. So, if we're going to graph negative 2 and 3, we need to crawl over to negative 2 before we ever stand up and go to that 3. Please know how to graph. Please, 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 please. You're going to be graphing all kinds of stuff in the future. But you definitely want to know the X comes before the Y. Go across the X before you ever go up or down. All that. Good? Okay. I realized that the second one ended up pretty much being the same as the first one. The only difference was that this one is at a 7. This one is at a 2, but it's still 5. Remember, distance is always positive. I don't care if you're driving in the negative world or you're driving backwards. The distance is always positive. Okay, now, moving on to all the statistics stuff. The statistics, I'll do my best to try to show you in a clean fashion, but we'll see how this looks. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here we go. We got the mean is 20, median 21, mode 21, range 11. LQ 18, UQ 23. We know we subtract UQ minus LQ for that IQR. Okay, and the MAD, here we go. List all the numbers. Subtract the mean. Get all those cute little subtraction numbers. Add them up and divide by however many numbers there are. Now, I just shortened mine to 2.57. If you have 2.5 and you know this is what you had on your calculator, that's fine. You might have 2.5714. That's fine. One thing to check, if you have it wrong, did you divide by 7 or 6? Some of the kids are forgetting a number up here, and then when they divide by 6, it's messing everything up. So just kind of check your work. Give it a second. Check and see if you have every number in your list. 13. Yes. Yeah, mine's right, I know. Do what, Ben? Is it the one before this? Oh, it's 5. The distance is 5, yeah. Okay, so my question is, if you missed it, are you seeing why you missed it? Okay. Listen, when it comes to MAD and all this, actually, what we will do is give you a list of numbers and then have you do all this, but like, it'll say maybe what is the mean? Letter A, I don't know, 18, letter B, 20, letter C, 22, and letter D, 24. And then it'll say, what is the range? And then you pick A, B, C, or D. But we're going to give you one set of data to try to do a lot of it with so that you're not reworking over and over different numbers. Yes?
Did you round up the mean? Because every time I put it on this, it's 19.8.
Listen, I got 140. I didn't round anything. And divide by 7. So add these numbers back up and see if you can get 140. And then divide by 7, because there's 7 numbers up there. Check it. Yes?
Okay, so how many sets of data are there going to be on the test?
1 or 2. Maybe 2.
Also, are we going to have to work out MAD?
Yes. I think there is a MAD question. But here's the good thing about an A, B, C, or D test is if you don't get the same answer, obviously work it out again. So, it's okay. If you missed a number though, or if you wrote a number incorrectly in your data, it will mess you up. So check each number first and make sure you got them. Okay, and if you do that, I mean, it just throws everything off. Yes. Okay, anybody else? Okay, looking at the next one, we got box and whisker. Now, I did shorten mine a drop, meaning I should have really put a 12 down here and a 25, but instead I just did my LQ is 18, median is 21, UQ 23, highest number 24, and lowest is 13. The way we test you, listen, there's 2 or 3 box and whisker plots. you pick which one is drawn correctly. But watch, all it takes is me taking this median and putting it on 20, and it's wrong. So you got to check each little end of the boxes, middle line, and whiskers. Yes? Yes, A, B, C, or D. Some of them are just A or B, to be honest. So, okay, good on that one? Okay, on the next one. Now, this has been the one that I've gotten what I'm going to call more questions about, mainly because you had to get the mean, and it works exactly out to 41.5. Okay? Now, LQ and UQ. Let me do this.
Oh, wait. I got that right. I went to number 30.
Okay. Make sure you put them in order from least to greatest. Shh, guys. When you subtract, you can't round that mean. Like if you did anything other than 41.5, that's going to mess you up. Then I got all these cute subtractions, added them up, and divided by 8. Many of you are writing your hands off because I don't think you finished this. I am hoping that that is not true.
I just messed up on that.
Guys, please, let's get through this.
Where it says mad.
Yeah, and that is another thing, honestly.
But I already
Shamar, Monday. You need to be super careful that if you do range, and the first question is, if the first question's LQ, that you put LQ for that question. Don't say, well, I thought it asked range, and I put, be very careful. Okay, on the next ones, we've got stem and leaf. Now, I really wish you'd all look at this one because we did not have many, if any, that had one with no leaves. So, when making a stem and leaf, you start with whatever the lowest number is and go to the highest. But, hint, hint, as you look up here, I'm just going to wait. If there's not one, if there's like you're going from 2s or 20s to 60s, and there's not one, you have to put the tens place in the stem. Now, the way we know that there's not any 50s is by not having a leaf.
You write 0.
Don't put a 0 because that'd be 50, right? So, that is one way we can trick you. There are, on Monday's test, 2 or 3 different, there's 4 different stem and leaves, and you pick which one we made correctly. It is very easy to confuse you on this. All it takes is me sticking a 1 right there and you not catching it. Or maybe me putting 3 2s right here and you not catching it. Yeah, or leaving it a 5 off, yes. Now, the other thing is the key. This one is a 2-digit number, could have been any of these, or any number as long as it's 2 digits. Okay, everybody get on stem and leaf. Going on to the next one. Now, let me find y'all's copy on this one. Here we go. Now, this one, quite a few of you have asked me questions about, and some of the questions could be answered right here. Because across the bottom, it says this is miles per gallon. Well, if the first sentence says the histogram below shows the efficiency level in miles per gallon of 110 cars, that means that if this is miles per gallon, this is cars. So this one represents 15 cars. This one represents 20 cars. Now, looking at the questions, if it says more than 10 miles, then I am really looking at all these added together. So 20 plus 35 plus 25 plus 15 gives me 95. The next one, less than 20 miles per gallon. That's going to be those three. 35 plus 20 plus 15, giving me 70. And then the last one, between 5 and 15. Well, between 5 and 15 are those two columns. 15 and 20 makes 35. Be very careful reading that histogram. If you need to cover it up with your hands or whatever, it doesn't hurt anything. Okay, next thing, going into evaluating expressions. Now, try to show you a few different things. There we go. Okay, so like on the first one, we knew it was addition, fill it in, give me the answer. Second one, number and letter up against each other means multiply. Third one, two different ways to do this. One way is the old PEMDAS method. You can just add 5 plus 3 because they're in the parentheses, then multiply to get 32. Or you could go into the distributive property. 4 times 5 would be 20. 4 times 3 would be 12, but it still gives you 32. Doesn't really matter which way you do that one. Remember this, if they give you the variable and a number, they're wanting you to solve it, guys. Because once you fill it in, you know you can do that math. Okay, go into the next row. I got r squared means 6 times 6, which is 36. Plus the 2 gives me 38. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And this is the same kind. You can either do what's in parentheses, or you can do distributive property. Okay, gotta remember PEMDAS. Or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay. This is, the 9 weeks test is where we are not really supposed to answer a single question. Meaning, you know, I can't answer what does r squared mean? Does it mean 6 times 2 or does it mean 6 times 6? Things like that. Please get some of this stuff memorized if you don't already. It means 6 times 6, right? Uh-huh.
This next part, there's still the GCF.
Right.
Is that not going to be on the test?
It's not. We ended up not doing GCF on the test. It wasn't on there last year and we just didn't add it. It could be on the last 9 weeks test, but I doubt it. Yes.
For number 23,
Uh-huh.
I got 2, but I added. I got 4.
I can't figure out why. Like, I'm trying to...
5 times 2 is 20. 2 minus 6 is minus 6.
Oh, doing the 2 minus 6 first? Oh. No?
Is it
Okay. Listen, if you're going to distribute, very good question. Shh, and listen. Because honestly, she's not the first one that's done this today. I've actually had like 2 other kids do this. And I couldn't figure out, anyway, I just couldn't figure out what you'd done wrong. But watch. If you distribute 5 times 4 and you tell me it's 20, you also, that means you have to distribute 5 times 2. Don't just subtract 2. If you do one, you've got to do the other. Then that changes the whole math problem. But I've actually had 2 or 3 other kids do that. That's why I had the red pen on there, to be honest. So, or you can just, do order of operations. Either way. Yes? Not exactly. Real quick, on the distributive property, listen. You probably don't have this middle row. The middle row was something I did last year with students. you should have 14x plus 70. Here's the problem with that question is this. As far as I know, it should be in this order I have in yellow. But I also realize that if you swap it and you had 8 plus 4x, with order of operations, you're going to get the same answer. Okay? Right now, I would realize that it's right. I would hope. I can't promise that a higher up algebra teacher would let that go, though. That's just something that, as you go on, you just have to kind of figure out. Okay? Yes? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, it's right here. Look. Yep. So you can do it either way. Either way. There will be a point where distributive property is the only way to get rid of those parentheses. We just, right now, since we're solving them, it just kind of works its way out either way. Uh-huh.
I'm 26.
Uh-huh.
Oh, never mind.
You sure? Be careful that you don't put 10 here. Please look at 24 real quick. I've had a lot of you guys put 14x plus 10. Make sure, because they're not distributing that second number. Be very careful. Yes?
Yeah, as well, there is a way you could mix up the distributed property way, where,
Stop, guys.
you could accidentally do, 10 minus 6, then 20 minus,
And it works.
4, but it actually equals 16.
Then it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work, would it? So that's why the whole left to right thing goes in order. Yeah. And it just, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, okay, there you go. Thank you.